Well, hello there, Internet land. This is Haunani Pal from User Experience Auckland, and thank you for coming again to a Fusion Talk. And today I'm going to talk with a really cool creator from California that I met in June at a Thirdweb Learn, and we've become friends. And he made, out of his mind came a really cool app that I've been playing with. But mostly it's just a lot of conversations and sharing ideas because that's how we roll here in the Web3 world. So uh, I just want to go through a couple more things. If you're looking for more information about User Experience Auckland, here's all of our socials on Linktree. And of course, the ubiquitous, you always have to ask if you like, consider, and all this other stuff. So yeah, if you like and subscribe, that really helps with the algorithm. And then when you subscribe, you get to be seeing what's going on as we go further with this amazing adventure of making videos and sharing information. So, um, so I want to bring somebody in here. This is a person that I met, like I said, with Thirdweb Learn. He was part of my cohort. We had people from like the UK and Hawaii and California, and he was from California. And that's how I met him. I've kept in touch with him. We talk a lot, actually. It's mostly, but let me bring him on board. His name is Josh Howard from
Hey.
California. Hello, Josh. How are
Hey, how's it
you?
going?
It's good to see you.
Good to
Uh,
see you too.
um, how's your day so far?
Day's been good. Full day. Been up and down the coast actually of California today. So but it's been good.
Well, let's just make this probably a real comfortable end of your day and talking to the internet land for people in all over the world. But I'm in New Zealand, so this is for a lot of the New Zealand design group in Auckland
Mm.
called User Experience Auckland. And I'm just going to ask you some questions that I've been
Yeah,
asking everybody in my talk, and we'll just see where it takes us. Okay?
sounds great.
Sounds good. So I'm going to ask you about your Web3 origin story, like we're in a Marvel movie or something. But
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
tell us your story.
Yeah. My origin story. So it started really with this idea that I could potentially use the blockchain and specifically NFTs as a means to create a regular funding stream for my nonprofit. So that's actually kind of what started me down the path of learning about NFTs, learning about cryptocurrency, and learning about the blockchain. Because I thought, that would be a cool mechanism that would allow people to not only benefit from joining a community, provided that the NFT gained value, but also I could make it into something that also benefited the nonprofit, where there was a percentage distributed to the nonprofit out of the NFTs. So that's what really got me started in the world of blockchain. I had done some research early on when IBM had launched some various like blockchain tech, and really like enjoyed it, but I didn't take the time to dive into it until I had that thought, oh, maybe I could tie this to the nonprofit.
Oh, I don't think I knew this about your story. Can you share about your nonprofit or?
Yeah, absolutely. So the nonprofit is focused on introductory programming and also literacy intervention or tutoring. So we
Oh,
work with students in Title I schools, and most of the students that are in like the literacy program are in 4th through 6th grade, and they tend to be struggling readers. And we've learned a lot, just having lived in a low income neighborhood for some time, and just seeing that the importance of learning to read early on, and then the number of students that get missed. And then the introductory program piece was really to kind of help to curate or cultivate, help to cultivate a culture of innovation, and really helping kids get inspired to do more than they could ever think they could do. And so we kind of take them through this process. Actually, it's really similar to buildspace, where they start with nothing, and then by the end of 12 weeks, they end up having built a video game.
Wow.
So it's a really fun process. It's really exciting to see the kids get excited, especially towards the end when they finally see it all come together. It's like, why are you making us do all this hard stuff? And then at the end, they're like, oh, I made a game. This is awesome. And I get to show that to my friends and family. So it's really fun.
I think that I didn't know this part of your story, but I think that's wonderful. I think it's great to see people using technology to have to share what they love to help other people out. And I definitely need to introduce you to. I don't know if you met him at the demo at buildspace, but I think I was telling you about he wanted to make something to help his son to read better.
Oh
So
yeah, you did mention. Yeah.
he made it's kind of an AI bot, I would say, probably
Cool.
not saying it right, but it was basically to help people create their own stories because it was a way
Nice.
to encourage his son to want to read.
Yeah.
And so I think that's I didn't know this story about you because we've always just sat and talked about um, the Art Locatia app
Yeah.
that you created in your skull that that I've been having a good time playing with because I like to do art when I'm not talking with people. Um, and oh, by the way, hello, people who've come on, Mr. Philip Soul from Thailand and Miss Catherine George from Aotearoa. Very nice to see you. Anywho, that's a really great story. Thank you for sharing that because I
Yeah.
don't I understood. So you basically made this to help with the other thing, and who knows what this is going to be. Uh,
Yeah.
so it kind of dovetails into my next question, which was, what are some of the projects you've created with
Yeah.
Web3 technology?
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of origin story that really launched me. It was kind of like one thing after another after another. So at first it was building this NFT collection, and then I started kind of laying out a roadmap for myself of just like, what are the things that I want to kind of do with this that I think would build value, and be a contribution to the community. And so one of the first things I did was actually conduct an ethnography. And I don't know if for
What's
those who
that?
aren't, yeah. So an ethnography is a research tool
Mm,
often used in marketing. It's observational research where you're looking to understand felt needs of a community. And so I went for it and developed a questionnaire and just started reaching out to people and seeing who might be interested, and filling out the questionnaire. And I got about, I have to look at the website again. I feel like it was somewhere around 20 data points. I can't remember the exact number, 20, 23, somewhere in that range. And then I took that, created a journey map, and then that's when I really started to see the process that people were going through and the challenges that they were facing. And so it just kind of just sparked ideas in my mind that just sort of rattled around. So I ended up developing a couple more collections.
mm.
And one of those was the start of developing location-based NFTs. And I was thinking, that could be a very useful tool, and for, all sorts of things, even beyond what Locatia is right now. And so that's when I started dabbling with that. And in that process, I built a couple other things. I built a Chrome extension called NFTshopper. And the idea behind that was to make it easier to find collections on the fly. So if you heard about a collection and you got the address, you could just plug it into NFTshopper, it would show you, it shows you a summary of the collection, and then it shows you the floor price across all the main marketplaces. So
Wow.
Looks Rare, OpenSea, and Rarible. So it was a fun little project, and little secret here. I'm actually going to tie it a little bit more into Locatia here in the near future. So I'm excited about that. But that like got me really excited about marketplaces. And it also gave me the thought that that would be the way that an NFT could actually tell a story.
Yeah.
So with the marketplace and NFTs that are geolocated, you can see a journey of an NFT as it's placed in different locations. And so in theory, you could actually map out the story of the NFT itself as it went from person to person. So I thought like, oh, there's, all sorts of like really cool things that I could do with this. Um, then I took on a hackathon and I created what's called fantomPets. So it's built on the Phantom blockchain. And I really did that as kind of more of a learning experience to just challenge myself, and to learn TypeScript. So I didn't have enough knowledge, and a lot of the Thirdweb tools were built with TypeScript. And so I decided I was just going to do it, go for it, and force myself into learning something new. And I learned a lot in fantomPets that I'm actually using for Locatia. So all of these things really
Yeah.
built into what you're seeing being built today. I learned, so basically what I'm excited about, what I think is cool about fantomPets is I made it run completely on IPFS in the blockchain. So it's just a front end website, but it functions like it's a progressive web app as well, and it functions as a virtual pet game. So it's like and it's literally pulling all of the animations from IPFS as you're playing the game, and your game data is saved on IPFS as well.
Do you
So
mind saying what IPFS
oh
is?
yeah, sorry.
Listen to know.
Yeah. So interplanetary filing system. So it is
I have to say that's
essentially,
the best name ever.
yeah, it's not very self-explanatory. It's a distributed network of computers that stores data. So it kind of, I guess I'm using it like a database.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it makes it to where the game is ultra portable. So anyone can take the game. They can make their own versions of the game. They can use the data. It's very open source.
I'm gonna have to check it out. But
Yeah,
let's move on. I want to
yeah,
ask you what inspired you for your
yeah.
idea for Art Locatia.
Yeah. So one of the big inspirations was this event, or is this event in Sacramento called Free Art Friday. What it is, or what people do, is they create some sort of artwork, and they drop that around town, and then they'll take pictures near that location that the artwork is placed, and then post that to Instagram. And then people go around town, maybe grab dinner or some ice cream or something like that, and go and find the art. And
That's like a
what was
scavenger hunt.
yeah, it's a scavenger hunt.
And
And
this is in the downtown Sacramento area.
yes, yeah,
Just in case you ever go to Sacramento, which is the state capital of California, there's an old town of Sacramento, which is gorgeous and beautiful. I have to say, it's really a wonderful. They did that up right. It's really sweet. So then you
yeah,
can go on a Friday and check out this art walk Friday. So that
yeah,
was that inspired you to go,
yeah, yeah. And it was always fun because what people do is when they do find the art, then they post that on Instagram and they tag you. So it was always fun to see who picked up your artwork, and just kind of like that. A lot of times people would share like the kind of joy that it brought them,
yeah,
and so that was always like a fun little piece of it. One of my favorite moments was when a little girl found one of the patches I made, and she was super excited about that. So it's just like that stuff is just a blast, when you can just make a bright moment, in someone's day with artwork. That's fun. So
I like art. I like making art. But I love the idea of this something that's for the community and it's tangible and you can do things and it's with people. So I
mhm.
really love this idea of how you got inspired. I don't know if New Zealand is doing this. Auckland, why aren't we doing Free Art Friday? Just putting it out there.
Yeah, anyone
Anywho,
can start it.
really, yeah. Hello,
Yeah.
Auckland. Because I think we need more art in the world. That's just my personal opinion there.
Mhm.
But what are some of the challenges that you had for creating um, Locatia?
Yeah. So some of the challenges are centered around how do I want to create the drop? So there's like different ways to locate objects, right? And so that was kind of like the fundamental question: what makes the most sense to do that? Because not everywhere has an actual physical address, right? Your house has an address, like a business has an address, but what about like your favorite coffee shop or your favorite park or favorite beach that you would love to drop art at?
Yeah.
And so that is very challenging. And then you could kind of go with latitude and longitude, but that's not easily accessible. And so I ended up using plus codes, which is something that Google developed to make anywhere on Earth addressable. And so, and what's really nice about plus codes is they're just a small little string of characters, and I can decode and encode that string on the front end to then display the artwork at a location. So I would
Ah,
say that was like kind of the biggest kind of aha moment in the process, is learning about plus codes and finding that that could be a way to actually anchor the artwork. Um, the next biggest challenge was AR. So getting the augmented reality to function on both on Android and iOS through the exact same application. So most people go a native route where it's you would have to download it from the Play Store or the Apple Store on your phone. But I really, because I wanted to use Web3 as a means to store, like, hopefully someday there's millions of users, millions of models. Um, and I wanted to be able to address those. So I thought plus codes made the most sense in combination with AR. And so doing that allowed me to actually anchor AR objects on both Android and iOS, which I that's a long story to kind of go in the details there, but basically it's challenging. There's a lot of challenges. I'm even in a hackathon right now where I'm making a geospatial kind of environment, and unfortunately I went to go test it at the park. I dropped the object in, and it didn't work because I'm using an iPhone. So it and the app is supposed to allow iPhone, but iPhone doesn't allow geo anchors for this particular technology.
because
So
it's
I
an
think
iPhone.
what's that?
Because it's an iPhone, it
Yeah,
probably got
yeah,
percent for
but
it.
I think what I did, I basically overcame those challenges that I'm seeing, in the kind of AR space right now by using blockchain and this Google Plus code content string, and then I can
Yeah.
locate augmented reality experiences.
Okay, so just to catch up,
Yeah.
everybody or new people who've come up, Art Locatia, I call it Art Locatia, but it's Locatia, um, is basically an app you can use on your phone or your desktop to find works of art that people make and they've dropped it somewhere on the globe. and you can use augmented reality to actually see it on your phone in the context of wherever they dropped it at. That's kind of the main gist of it. I has been spending probably the last week or so putting up some of my artwork, and it's kind of a funny story because it's something that I just sort of made when I dropped paint on the floor of my in my room, and then I just when you clean things up and you don't want to waste paint, you like slap it on a piece of paper. And when I was doing that, I'm like, I kind of like it. And the next thing you know, I made a thing and I liked it so much, I threw it up on Instagram, and that became kind of the thing I was using for playing with your with your app and going through all the steps and not knowing really what things are.
Yeah.
But thank goodness you've been so helpful at helping me on the parts that I just had a challenge in, and I think that brings up maybe
Should we show
the
it?
next. Well, almost there. I think I have one
Okay.
more question,
Okay. Okay.
but I wanted to give kind of my bit because the next
Yeah.
question is, what are some of the insights that
Mm.
you have from working through these challenges?
Yes. Yeah. So um, it is, it's not easy to deploy this sort of artwork. There's definitely a process. I've made some rough tutorials. And by the way, I just want to mention this. I just started building Locatia in the beginning of August of this year, and so it has moved very quickly. But there is a lot to improve on as well. And this deploying process is one of those things. So it does require, essentially, in order to create the artwork for both the Android and iOS environment, you really need to have a Mac, and that's obviously a limitation there. And then the other piece is you have to have a strong knowledge of how to structure metadata for an NFT object. And so those are some of the challenges that Nani and I are working through together, actually. Yeah, it's really fun. So we're adding a studio to Locatia to streamline this process. So folks that are artists can focus on the art, focus on making these really cool installations, and not having to worry about all these technical details. So the goal is to really try to abstract those technical details and make a really nice use flow, so that way you all can deploy art as simply as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing he ran into a user experience designer who also
Yes.
likes to mess around with Web3 and art, and then just decided to show him how do you make this for an artist, for a person who's not going to really
Hmm.
know a JSON file or things
Hmm.
like that, but want to supply the information that's needed so that you
Hmm.
can do the steps. So I've been collaborating and brainstorming and showing him some ideas to try to make that part of the experience easy for
Yeah.
somebody who might, because I'd like to see more people use this. I'll hold that thought because I think you should just show it off right now and
Okay.
let people see what's going on.
Yeah, let's check out your artwork here. So I think do I just hit the play button?
I'm going to just, is it the first one? You want me to just add
Yeah,
it
the
to the
first
stage?
one. That
There we
one. Yep.
go.
Yep. So this is a test on an iPhone. Um, and so this is inside my house, which is much smaller than the artwork itself. But even after you render it through your device, you can then resize it and move it around. And one of my favorite things to do is to have somebody else hold my camera and take a picture of me next to it, or film me next to it. It just kind of gives like this surreal experience. Oh, sorry about the audio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, let's try that one again, actually. Hold
Yeah, so this one, Tap Tap Kaboom is the first artist to launch on Locatia, and this is the art piece that he created. It's called Changing Realms. He's in Amsterdam, so
Oh,
you can
he
actually
is.
pick this up on Locatia today on the mainnet application, and it's amazing, especially when you go up close to it in augmented reality. It just looks phenomenal. So definitely worth checking that out. Now, the way Locatia works is you actually have to be physically next to that art piece within 15 meters of it to view it, unless you purchase it. So if you do purchase it, you can go into the artwork that you own inside the application and render any piece of art in augmented reality. And so what I had done here in this scenario is I had actually purchased one of his art pieces, and then I dropped it next to my favorite coffee shop. So every time I go there, and I put it at a really high price, so hopefully no one buys it. So every time I go there, I can go and look at the artwork at the coffee shop.
Oh,
So
wow. That's a good story. I didn't realize I didn't realize you did that, but I do like so this Tap Tap Kaboom. He's also somebody we met at this Thirdweb
yep,
Learn. He was part of our cohort, and he's a really interesting artist that does a lot of digital. I don't know. I like his art.
it's so good.
I
Yeah,
like the energy that it's always bright colors, which I'm a bright colored girl, believe it or not. And I just like I find it inspirational. The thing I really like about this idea, and I've told you this, Josh, is where I would use it. For example, some people know I've gone to Burning Man, and
hmm
I used to work on the website. Was part of the website crew. I was the volunteer user experience person, and this was in the well, this was about, gosh, I hate to say it, 20 years ago, but it was 20 years ago. So it always, Burning Man just happened, even though it was wet and all this other stuff, which I've lived through that, so it wasn't like anything new. But sometimes I wish I had something like this where I would be on the playa looking at art, um, or if I was an artist and I wanted to share my art and drum up support, or something to help me build the actual thing on the playa, because some of those art pieces, they cost thousands and thousands of dollars to create them. It takes all year. These artists are working all year long. Then they have to bring it onto the playa. They have to set it up. They have to break it down.
mm,
These are not these
yeah,
are not for the faint of art. And then I see them elsewhere. Sometimes
mm,
they're sold afterwards or they're used afterwards.
mm,
And I kept on seeing this app as a way for a free art Friday type of thing, where you're
yeah,
walking around the playa, or in a
mm,
museum,
yeah.
looking at a museum piece. So that's where I think this might be really fun and really interesting. Maybe Marion, if you're watching this, call. But it's one of those, it's just one of those things where I haven't seen anything like this. And I've seen some things with augmented reality, but it's never in this context where basically the world is your museum and you can drop it wherever you want. And I think that's really neat. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it it really takes out the idea of any sort of boundaries, right? So it's kind of creating a whole overlay on the entire Earth, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
We need more art, less bombs.
yes, yeah.
Do you want me to share the next one?
Yeah, so the next one, this one's pretty cool. So this one is just, I was experimenting with Android versus Apple, and specifically in a shady region, because sometimes like light shifting causes some problems. But I was pretty happy with this and just how it turned out.
Again.
So now, ultimately my goal here was to give Android users and Apple users as as similar of an experience as I possibly could in the progressive web app environment. Like I mentioned earlier, with AR, there's challenges when you're not building the app natively, and so to do this, I had to do some workarounds. But I'm happy with how these workarounds came out. I feel like you can enjoy your artwork if you have an Android or Apple device. And my Android device that I'm using is really old, so I'm assuming folks that have a newer device would have even the colors would be more vibrant. I think my Android device is from like 4 or 5 years ago, so I think most people would see a lot better colors.
I think these look well. I think they look good, but I love that you basically seeing the same experience in two different um, mobile devices, and I think that is a progressive web app. I mean, I don't know if they ever, I hear that a lot, but the truth is, showing that experience for different types of people, and they can still get the value and the fun in it. So,
yeah,
well done. Cool. Well, I actually have some questions. Hold on.
Oh, great.
So Catherine asks if you can use motion graphics with
yeah. So you can do animations. So it is a little bit challenging. I've done some experiments with this, and I do want to build out some more use cases just so people can see what can be done. But I kind of deprioritize those to focus on the studio. But yes, it is possible to animate, specifically motion graphics. There are ways to render video within the Blender file. So you might be able to do motion graphics specifically in that way, where you take some sort of movie file and then render it onto a panel in Blender. Will that carry over into the Apple context? I'm not 100% sure on that. But what I do know, and I have tested, is creating the animation of the objects within Blender. So if you do it natively within Blender, then you can export that into the reality converter on Apple, and then it will hold the animation. So that there is a way to do it, and we can talk about it if you're interested. And I can kind of point you to what I've seen so far in that space. But I think, yeah. So the idea that I was working on, and I have a really rough idea, is I don't know if you all heard the alien that was shown in Mexico.
Was that an alien, or I thought it was a piece of cake?
Yeah, it could have been a piece of cake. So I took that image and I started rebuilding it in Blender, the alien, and I was going to have it come up out of a portal. So I started it. It's functioning
like space
right
portal
now.
or out of your chest?
No, a space portal. So I started playing with it, and I just haven't gotten to finishing it. But I have like a rough outline of the alien coming through a portal, and I tried it on both Android and iOS, and it worked. So eventually, I'll start showing some of those sorts of things as well. But you can create really amazing art installations. I honestly just cannot wait for more artists to get a hold of this and really just go to town. I've been talking with a friend of mine who he does large scale mechanical art installations. And I feel like it's kind of right up his alley in terms of the motion piece of it. So I've been talking with him as well.
I have to say, one of the things I learned that was new is I didn't know Blender. And what has come out of this is I've met the folks at the Baked Universe who created a Blender Chrome browser extension.
Oh, cool.
And they've been giving me a lot of tips. So hello, Baked Universe. Hello, Liquid, Hazy, Marco. Hello. I'm sure there's more. But Blender is pretty interesting. I have learned a lot using your tool because I think I'm I go that weird, I had to have everything kind of covered to take my 2D art and put it on a 3D panel. Um,
Mhm.
like, in fact, I'm going to just show it again
Yeah.
because I'm
Good.
proud of that I got this far. So I did this in Blender, and then cr- created these two files. One is for the Android, one's for the Apple with Josh's help, I mean, excuse me. And then I went to Thirdweb, which I think many folks have heard me talk about Thirdweb, to do the next bit, which is to take that. Oh, wait a minute, I'm jumping ahead. I took all those files in, put them into the interplanetary file system, which just sounds space
You
agey,
you could just say
doesn't it?
server. I mean, it's a distributed network of computers. So
It's very cool though. I like the name. I do. I mean, I feel like I need a cape and like
yeah.
some kind of costume because I feel like it's should be in some comic tune soon. Um, and then put it into a JSON file. And this is where I'm so pleased that I know what that is and I'm not afraid to enter things in there. And once I got that into a JSON file, which is basically text that I read
Mhm.
in Notepad, you put all that information in there. And then I went to Thirdweb. And in Thirdweb, I created a collection. It's called a ERC 1155 collection
Mhm.
through their dashboard, which is really super easy to do. I just created one with my Instagram name and a picture of me. And this is me. And then I used that JSON file to do a batch upload. And what it
Mhm.
did is it created the NFT and it went to all the interplanetary, out in the verse on the database and brought everything in.
Mhm.
And then I gave it some conditions. I claimed one, and then I gave the rest. I sent the collection address to Josh, and then he was able to do his extra things to test it out on
Test
the
it, yeah.
different devices. But after that, I could see it actually on your app. And I put it at the Birkenhead Library because it's my village, and
Nice.
I figure anybody should see some art. You should go to the library and see some art. So
Yeah.
I thought the whole thing, once I was getting through it and each
Yep.
step, um, I was feeling more confident
Mhm.
and I liked that it was there. So I'm looking forward to see what the next comes out of it. So
Yeah.
I think that brings me up to the next question, which is what
Mm.
are the location's next steps?
Yeah, so the next steps are really to continue to get engage with artists. I, you know, this whole application is designed for artists. So I gave this analogy on Twitter. I don't know if you all are familiar with the Tron story, but in the movie, Tron fights for the user, and so Locatia fights for the artist, so to speak. So the idea is really to serve artists with this application and create an experience that artists can really enjoy and leverage as a way not only to create beautiful installations, but also hopefully to generate some income as well.
Mm,
Um, and so like, for example, the landing page and things like that on the application are free to the artists. So all of that is set up for you to deploy your artwork. And I would just really want to see more artists launching and using it. And part of that is, you know, I need to make that a better user experience. Like Nani was just sharing, there's a lot of hurdles and sort of things that you would have to understand in order to deploy on it. And I'm happy to walk with everyone through that, but I want it to be a great experience for folks and not frustrating, and
mm,
so the next big thing is really building out this studio so that way it's more drag your images, your artwork in there. If you don't have a Mac, it auto converts it to the Mac file for you. and a handful of things like that, just to kind of simplify that process. So those are the next two big things. The other thing I
I'm
plan on
helping him
doing.
with that bit, so I'm
Oh,
happy to
yeah.
say that we've been brainstorming, and I just showed him some ideas, and hopefully more things will I can be more helpful that way. That
Oh,
part is I'm
you've
very
already
happy
been
with that.
amazing. You've been helping me think through the process differently, even just as we, talked about the steps in which you had to go through to get to this point where now you're ready to actually deploy it on the main net. It was like it gave me insights, even just those discussions into, oh, here are some of the things that we need to adjust and
Yeah,
make it great for artists.
yeah, I think that's a great
Mm.
great point of view. Sorry, lost my brain for a minute.
Oh yeah.
Uh, are there any other next steps you reckon for Art Locatia?
Yeah. So after the studio, then the idea would be to start dropping more artwork in places people frequent, and the goal being to drive usage. So I really want it to be something that people can enjoy and kind of integrate more in everyday life. I think that's the challenge with AR applications in general. Pokemon Go is kind of considered an anomaly, and so I'm hoping to build in things like pop-up notifications when people are near artwork.
Yeah,
So there's some tricks
uh,
with that I'm going to have to figure out. I may end up eventually have to go with building a native application for Android and iOS to do that. But I don't know. I've been sort of brainstorming workarounds for that as well. Um, but my thought is this has to fit kind of in the everyday aspects of life where you're getting coffee, you're going to go do this, and then it's just like, oh yeah, there's this art installation here. I have like 2 minutes. I might as well go check that out and just, see what that looks like. Or, oh, there's a piece of artwork at this coffee shop or this donut spot or this bar or wherever, let's go check it out. So just kind of creating those fun experiences that people can enjoy with friends and family.
yeah, I think that's a really good goal to have. Um, I I think sometimes we feel a bit inundated with technology.
Hmm.
Um, like there's enough studies that tells me how we can feel bad about it. It can make us feel
Mm-hmm.
bad. It could be overly complicated. It can keep people divided. But it would be nice to have the type of technology that is forward facing, that feels like perhaps closer to a society. Well, I like future things, right?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing is to watch sci-fi, so
Mm-hmm.
um, to me that feels comforting. But
Mm-hmm.
we should all appreciate art. Art is a great way to turn your mind,
Mm-hmm.
to think of new things, and I think it's I'm always going to be a fan of art, so I will always talk
Mm-hmm.
about it. Uh, but we have some questions actually.
Yeah.
Can I bring up a new question?
Yeah. Let's do
I know you talked about motion graphics. Um, I
it.
think
Mm-hmm.
this can do 3D models, right?
Uh, yes. So the 3D model file type is GLB in Blender, and
Yep,
then the model type for Apple is USDZ.
USDZ. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it does. Okay, thank you for that question. Another
Oh, there was one
question that.
before that, I
Oh,
think.
I just see that. Sorry, we'll get to that one. I
Okay.
just keep on clicking on Catherine. Sorry. Um, do you need to let establishments know you are using their location for Art Locatia?
This question came up one other time, and my perspective is I don't think so, because it's an overlay on Earth. Now, um, obviously, if you create some sort of disruption, then maybe that might cause a problem. But what is interesting about Art Locatia is you could drop your own artwork in the Louvre. And so, people would have to go into the Louvre to see your artwork. So it is a really fascinating concept, and something, I did reach out to a couple museums because I would like to explore that with museums and just kind of think about, like, you have kind of you could have a whole alternate universe within the museum itself. Yeah, total sci-fi here. So you can create your own world. And
I wonder if it would be
oh, go ahead.
interesting in Decentraland.
What's that?
I wonder if this would be something interesting in Decentraland. I remember going into Decentraland, which is a little fugly, and they would put art up on the walls. And
Mm,
of course, with the art, they would have, their Twitter address or how to get,
mm.
to the next level. But it is, it is being in a virtual world showing virtual art. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see why there would be any restrictions at all. But this is hasn't been done. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
You never know. I mean, if people, if somebody wants to explore that, they will.
yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Cool. Good question. Thanks. Uh, Next question from
Mm.
Philip. Do you have any direct competitors platforms in this space? Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So up to this point, I only know of one other person doing this work, and I am blanking on her name right now. But she developed an application called Fourth Wall, I believe, and that you can download on Android and on the Play Store and the Apple Store. It's a native built application, and it displays geolocated art, and it is amazing. So the art experiences within that application, I would say, are better than what I have on here to date. And they're really, really amazing displays. The difference, as far as I can tell to this point, and I need to do more research in this, is that they are just free public displays. So there's no way to take that artwork outside of the application, or and there's not a way for the artists, to my understanding, to actually generate revenue off that specific art piece. But I do need to do more research into that, and look into that more. That is a great question.
Yeah, I'm trying to look on my Apple phone since you said it was Apple to see if I could find
Yeah,
who that person was
yeah.
that
I follow
created
her
it.
on Instagram. I can tell you her name right now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm sure that there's perhaps other ones as well. I don't know, but Philip said,
It's called Fourth Wall App, and Nancy Baker. I'm probably going to say her last name wrong. Cahill, Cahill.
yep, Cahill.
Cahill. Thank you.
Well, hopefully, we don't know.
Yeah, but she has done a lot of amazing work early on. I mean, I would say she's probably uh, the a leader, a leader in the space.
We should try to talk to her.
Yeah, yeah. We
So
need to talk to her probably.
so Miss Cahill, reach out to Josh Howard or Haunani Powell to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me get you down to the final questions that I've been asking everybody that I'm talking to. What are the three things folks should know about Web3?
Three things. Hmm. You know, this is a great question. So the first thing I would say is I like to think of Web3 as a a platform in which you build something on. So the you know I could build this application that I'm working on with sort of any server, right? So it's possible to do what I'm doing completely differently. Why did I even choose to build it on the blockchain? Well, I liked the idea of giving an opportunity for millions of models, and also make those publicly addressable. So then there's an actual, through the NFT and the contract, there's an actual transfer of the ownership of the object as well. So it kind of with it being AR, there's kind of a way to physically transfer ownership, where on the server I could transfer ownership, but it would all still be self-contained. So technically, anyone with the knowledge can build an app that renders these same objects that are being deployed within the application that I'm using, because it's not limited to that. So if someone wanted to create their own special experience just for their community with their artwork, they could still do that. They're not limited to using my application. So it kind of goes back to that philosophy. I was really trying to build something for artists, and something that kind of treats it as that it can actually be physically transferred from one person to another. So I thought of it more as a platform, like a platform choice or tech stack choice in which I was building. The second thing I would say is Web3, is not the solution for everything.
Good
so
tip. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good solution for some things, and you, you know really, it's kind of funny because with Art Locatia, what I'm doing is really trying to abstract away everything that's Web3 related. I want people to use the application almost without knowing that they're doing things on the blockchain. Now, those that know about the blockchain and care about it can still, leverage those unique aspects of the technology, and they'll better understand the ownership piece. But for most people, I think all they care about is the augmented reality experience. And so I think just really understanding when to use it, that it's not the answer for everything, but it is a very valuable technology for anything that requires some sort of ledger where you're keeping records, you want to address things. I think it's very powerful for that, especially with large numbers. The third thing, it is becoming easier to learn, I would say. It is very challenging if you
Yes.
want to kind of really dive into blockchain technology. It is challenging, but companies like Thirdweb, I mean, they make it like, I don't know, 1,000 times better at this point. Like I even just like, because I really started diving in deep just a little over a year ago, and between my starting point and now, it is a dramatic difference in the tools available to build.
Yes.
So my first marketplace that I built, just to start learning this technology, because I knew I wanted to build Locatia. I just knew I had a bunch of pieces to learn first. It took me about, I don't know, 6 or 7 months to build, and that's because I was literally, having to write everything. And
Mm.
then now that Thirdweb is out, I am just like using their their kits, and in one command I'm doing what took me hours before to write out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty
I
awesome.
remember the day when I think you learned you could uh, uh, take some, I think it was some something small, but you could recreate it because it was open source and Thirdweb. I think you wanted to reach through to their instructor and give him a kiss
Yeah.
because you were like, oh God, this is saving me hours of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I rebuilt my
yeah,
marketplace in 2 weeks.
yeah.
Or how long was Thirdweb? 3 weeks or two
W-
weeks?
I thought it was a
Or
month.
it was a month. Oh, okay.
I thought it was a month, but I knew that from the time we started to when we were showing things off at the
It
end,
was like 2
you
weeks.
had moved quite a
Yeah.
bit
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that. And it was something as simple as you were just taking what you already had and just
Rebuilding
using
it.
their tools to rebuild it without recoding,
Yeah.
and you were just blown away by that. And so
Yeah.
was Tap Tap Kaboom. He was pretty blown away by that. We have to share what Tap Tap did. So Tap Tap's an artist, and his idea was, say he gave a bunch of NFTs of shoes or socks,
Hmm.
and if you were a Tap Tap Kaboom fan, which we are, and you bought one of the pieces of shoes, then you could buy it. You have the NFT, and then you could collaborate with him and work with him. And then by some magic that I still don't understand very well, he could change the metadata, and
Hmm.
then all of a sudden your shoes are created in Tap Tap Kaboom colors in artwork that's bespoke to you and his collaboration and nobody else's.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, now that's a great. I didn't know you could do that. That's a great idea, and
Hmm.
I wouldn't have done it if I did not, do this third web learn. I learned so much from both you and him, and our third person, which keeping her quiet. But but people, I would say, just be curious and go there and play. You're not going
Yeah.
to hurt anything, and you could do everything in a test network, and
Hmm.
you could just go down the rabbit hole, just to play and nothing more, and have fun. To
Hmm.
be quite honest.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to the next question I have. Well, we sort of
Mm.
talked about it,
Yeah.
but what resources and platforms would you recommend for folks to learn more about Web3? So obviously,
Yeah.
Third Web is one.
Yeah. I would start with Thirdweb. I think for me, I still have I'm carrying over technology that I had been using in the past, even in what I'm building today. But I'm slowly even shifting completely almost over all to Thirdweb tools. The last the thing that I'm still using that, and it's the reason is basically Thirdweb doesn't have this option, is the Alchemy NFT endpoint.
Mm.
So that's a very powerful tool that allows you to pull NFTs and fetch them and search them and whatnot.
And what he's talking about is Alchemy University. That's another group to go check out as well.
Yes. Yeah, Alchemy University. I actually am in that. I just have not finished it.
Me too.
But I did start it. I just
Me
got
too.
distracted.
Totally.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alchemy. We love you.
Yeah, yeah. But
No,
if you
I agree.
yeah. If you're just getting started, those two tools, the Alchemy NFT endpoint and Thirdweb, I mean, with those two, you pretty much have, you know, everything you need to get started. And the beauty of the Thirdweb tools is they have some very simple templates, great tutorials. So you can really start exploring much easier than when I started.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point because I did like you. I started with Alchemy University,
Hmm.
and then the first thing they make you do is start doing not hashtags. I always call it like crypto hash.
Oh,
It's
Solidity,
not
yeah.
even the good kind that gets you stoned. It hurts your brain though. um, and I would say, if Alchemy, if you ever hear this, ma- consider how to make those things easier for people who are not as smart as the two creators who came from Stanford. Bless. Just saying. All right. So then my I've been asking this question for everybody
Mm,
because I think we have to think about what is going to come in
yeah.
5 years. So just predictions. It could be any kind of predictions, but where do you think we'll be in 5 years with Web3?
Yeah, and that I am not an expert by any means in the Web3 future. But what I do see is a trend of more to abstraction of what Web3 is,
Yes.
and really trying to uh, create user experiences that kind of make sense to most people,
Mhm.
not to just like this specific group of people. And I think that's when we'll start to see, Web3 technology leveraged, yeah, as kind of like it needs to be in its intended design. One of the most useful things that I can think of about blockchain technology is material traceability. And that was one of the things that piqued my interest back in the day, right after the Bitcoin white paper.
What is
Was
that? Can you explain it a
uh,
little bit more, please?
Yeah, yeah. So IBM has a great video, or had a great video. I don't know if it's still up, but they were talking about how you could follow the, like, let's say there's a diamond mine, and
Mm-hmm.
you can follow that diamond all throughout its entire life process up to the point of which in which it's being sold, and even after that point. And so then you would know where that diamond actually came from,
Yeah.
if it's legit and all that. And so uh, I also work in the medical device industry, and material traceability is really important when you're considering implantable devices as well. And so having using something like blockchain to manage those records, I think is a really cool solution for things like that. So anything that requires some sort of ledger, I think blockchain could really be useful for that. Um,
Mm,
I also see, like, obviously retail is picking it up, like Nike. They have
yeah.
their beta program. I think building loyalty programs around it, using it as a digital means to build loyalty programs will be pretty powerful as well. Um, I think it. I feel like um, sort of the NFT space initially was kind of, it seemed anyways, like a smaller, group of people that were initially maybe just focused on, building the foundations of the technology, but not necessarily the general public. And so where I see it is working towards adoption where it makes sense. And I know people keep talking about like onboarding a billion users or whatever. But I guess that kind of goes back to the fundamental question of like, does it make sense for your tech stack? And so, maybe Web3 doesn't make sense for that tech stack, but it does make sense for this tech stack over here. So maybe it's not so much about onboarding a billion users, but looking at the appropriate use cases for the technology,
Mm,
and then abstracting away the blockchain pieces, so that way the usability is much simpler.
yeah. And it
So
feels normal.
it feels normal.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I feel like, I mean, like when I talk about this stuff, I feel like I most of the time I'm talking way too technical, and I need to myself, I need to get away from that and just try to focus on what I'm trying to accomplish.
No, well, come on, come on. You're a smart man. You work in some really hard things. This is your nights and weekends. This
Yeah.
is stuff you do to give yourself joy and to take all the
Yes.
smarts that you got in your and use your superpowers for good. So that's okay. Because people might see this later. I just always try to bring it down, not bring it
Yeah.
down in the way that they're not smart enough, but just to to always think about what comes next and the
Mm-hmm.
different types of people who might learn from you, and that they can
Mm-hmm.
always, come back and talk to you another time and ask these questions like I ask these questions
Yeah.
all the time from you. Um, I kind of want to see life in Web3 to really not be terribly different than what we have now, but
Mm-hmm.
to be safer,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to be where we feel like we're not giving, giving up half a lung just so we can use some tool,
Mm-hmm.
and that we get something out of it, which it's clear in the past few years we haven't. I think
Mm-hmm.
I've already mentioned that before, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the main gist of
Mm-hmm.
of why I think it's interesting. I just
Mm-hmm.
think uh, it's it's interesting. I think from what history has told me, uh, we've walked down this before in the past. It's just a different tool set. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really kind of where I'm going at on that. Anywho, we're coming towards the end. If there's any more questions, this is the time to ask. But right now, this is where you can get more information of Josh.
Mm-hmm.
He's calculating zero, which is amusing to no end. Cheeky monkey.
Uh,
But that's where you'll find him out on the internet all over the place. Look for calculating zero, but that's his link tree. Um, I meant to send this out, and I think I will just copy it and say, any of you guys that are here with us now, please Phil, if you have any feedback, please drop me a line. I would love to see where this goes. So that's the main bit of that part. But there's a couple more questions. You have time for a couple more
yeah.
questions, Josh?
Yeah.
Cool. So,
Mm.
um, just to also give you some more loving, um, there's some love from
Thanks,
Philip.
Philip.
Well done,
Appreciate it.
and I think Catherine also. I can't find. Oh, also some love for Catherine. There you
Thanks,
go.
Catherine.
But Phil asks, "What's the main gist of the marketing plan?" Hmm.
Mm. Yeah, this is a good question and something. So right now I am in the process of building a pitch deck, and really sort of vetting through this. But a couple thoughts that I've been kind of rattling around in my brain are things like, developing some partnerships, maybe with Shopify or groups like that. Um, right now, I have it very basically set up to where artists can provide their store link or Shopify link. And then that is part of the dynamically generated landing page for that artist. And so it directly can tie users to their Shopify accounts. The other thought is companies like Nike, who basically could run campaigns like, let's say, Just Go Places or something like that, where you can drop a limited edition Air Force One on some trail. And then the only way to go and claim that physical shoe is by running to that location and picking up the shoe.
Hmm.
So those are some examples, but I'm still in process on kind of really figuring out what that could look like and what those partnerships could look like in terms of that sort of marketing plan.
Good question. My marketing plan is to collaborate a little bit more with Josh as I get my art out there, but just to be a little helpful Kiwi as best I can. See where it takes
Ah,
us. Who knows? Every time I talk to him, a new idea comes up, so I have to keep it to myself until I tell him. Anywho, it's just been a fun collaboration. I don't think it started this way. It wasn't like part of the plan, but it's been fun to play with something I really like, which is art.
Mhm.
So we have
Yeah.
another question, which is, how do you feel about Congress wanting to regulate new laws about how crypto will be ran? First of all, will Congress first of all get us, a Speaker of the House? Uh,
Yeah.
will Congress do anything about 230, Section 230, so that maybe social media doesn't, use our stuff or quit acting like they're not media companies? But good question. What do you think about will Congress wanting to regulate new laws about how crypto will be run? Sorry for the sarcasm.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah, I definitely do not have enough knowledge, to answer this question. I'm really thankful for like companies like Coinbase who have the resources to kind of address this. What I'm hoping for is that our government in the US really kind of sees the technical advantage of blockchain technology and the importance of it in just in general innovation. I mean, thinking from my own perspective, you know, theoretically today I could have a million artists deploying artwork on my application, and I I'm just one person who developed the app over a couple months here now. And so I think that shows some of the power, of the technology. I think unfortunately, it seems anyways that crypto NFTs kind of got a bad rap right now. Um, and so yeah, so obviously it kind of has tainted the conversation and not really kind of allowed probably as much opportunity to explain the benefits of the tech. But that's where folks like Brian are really helping us out in terms of trying to keep that idea of how this is innovative in front of our government. So I'm
Who?
thankful for that.
Who did you say?
Brian Armstrong, Coinbase.
Right, right. Fair
Yeah,
enough. I was
I hope
wondering.
I'm saying his name right. I think that's
Coinbase is so far is not in trouble with the government, so that's
no.
good.
They
Um,
Yeah, Brian Armstrong.
yeah.
Yeah, he really, I mean, I watched one of his videos just, addressing the SEC, and I just really appreciate the what he's doing from a technical perspective because I mean, come on, we're in the US. I'm in California, like everyone hears about as bleeding edge as you can get, as often
Mm,
as you can do that.
yeah, yeah.
Like that's, and myself, I professionally, I work my day job in R&D in research and development. So it's just like, that's where I thrive as well. And so it really is a bummer when those things get limited. And so, um, thanks to Coinbase, man, keep up the good work,
You heard
So
it here first. Thank
yeah.
you, Mr. Armstrong. It's nice that you're not in trouble with the government. I appreciate that too. Uh, I will say that I wonder if Congress understands enough. I, I feel sometimes they're not maybe they just inundated with so much stuff that they can't keep their minds to this technology, and they're always calling in quite a few technocrats, as I like to call them, to talk to them. And I feel like they're worried about AI more so than they're worried about crypto, because crypto has, I don't know, I would say it's still, with NFTs, scams, with all the bloated jargon and talk in general,
Mhm.
um, it's like you say, it has a bad rap, and it does. And I
Mhm.
don't know if they really can understand what that is, let
Mhm.
alone make any laws. But if they did, like if they had laws, I would love maybe them to consider regulating how we could use it to say, for me, I'm an American expat that lives in New Zealand, but I still have ties to America. And I would like to see if this could be a pathway for a certain life where I get old, I have Social Security, I have things that go on in the States that I want access to. But if I use, say, banks, or I use the things that we have, it moves slow, it moves at a glacial pace. So I'm wondering if they could have laws that would address that security, that thing about me as an American citizen, that I can still have the benefits of American life in that context. I wouldn't be sad if they could think about what that could be. They could make that. So I mean, that's a law I wouldn't mind them thinking about in that case. I don't really want any more scams. I think they're terrible. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if they
It
had
hurts.
laws that did with that too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is there any laws that you would want them to have?
For crypto?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, yeah, I'm not a lawmaker, so
Fair enough.
I really don't even, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
hear
even
you.
kind of dove into that space. What I do appreciate, though, I do appreciate regulation. Just even like thinking about it from like FDA perspective in the medical device industry, it's like it is what keeps people safe, and keeps especially large corporations, focused on building technology that benefits people, and there's a check and balance to making sure that technology is built in such a way that benefits people on
Yeah.
a long-term basis. So I think there's benefits to it. I think it's definitely probably a discussion with that has to happen between the experts in terms of really understanding what regulation makes sense. So
Well,
yeah.
I'm with you there. I think it is, it's quite complicated because not all of us understand how they make laws these days, or what they're looking at, or anything like that. So, um, with how it be run, I would like it to be above board. I'd like it to be it makes sense. I'd like it to be safe, and I would like that transparency to be useful in general. But that doesn't mean it's crypto. I think you could say that for just regular everyday money as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think I'd like a good life. But that's a great question. Thank you,
Yeah. Thank you.
Almighty Sono. So I hope I said that right. Sorry, I've always been calling you Sono. Anyway, I think we're getting towards the end. I want to thank everybody. This was my Fusion Talks build space project. Was really talking with people about their experiences in general, but I focus on Web3 because that's what I've been in the past few months, and that that was my project was really having these kind of talks with different people, and to present that, to share what I've learned, show that it's very complicated but also very fun. Um, and what I'm going to do next is take a break a wee bit. I was been hardcore on this for the past 2 months, and I got this. Thank you, Josh. You were my last speaker like this. I don't think I'm going to stop because I think there might be new ways of us talking, whether it's Twitter X or other types of spaces.
Mm,
But for now, I really appreciate people's interest and people reaching out to me and telling me that they're learning things, and
mm.
my environment has expanded. So I thank you folks for helping me out, but I think thank you, Josh, for ending this the best way I think we can, by showing off some of your cool work and some of your cool
Cool.
frames. So
Thanks.
thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And with that, folks, if there's nothing left, if you need to get a hold of me, um, check out my link tree, talk to me on Twitter and all that other stuff in the social world, and have a good day and be exploratory, see what else is out there in the world. But other than that, bye. See you
See ya.
later.
Bye. Thank you.